Moneyologist.
2, 1, 0.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Happy Monday, Moneyality Monday. It has been such a great previous week. I'm excited to be here. And our topic today is going to be, how does moneyality relationships affect gift purchases, restaurant bills, and just unexpected costs that each moneyality type may have. We're going to be very short. I'm just going to be really asking some questions for you to kind of think about as I talk about the different moneyality types. But before we get started, we're going to start with our sponsors. Our first sponsor tonight is Some Kind of Way Solutions. It's a nonprofit that has a financial focus, cultural connections, and life lessons. And if you wanted to reach out to the director, which is myself, it is 901-220-5704. And I would love to partner with any other nonprofits if you're trying to do some kind of community building and it's centered around teaching about personal finances to children or adults or our families. Either or, I will gladly come and partner with you to try to get this knowledge put out there for people to understand how they feel and think about money. So that's Some Kind of Way Solutions. The next one is Joy Media Group, and her website is joymediagroup.net. The number is 901-618-9501. And if you're in the business of looking for someone to help you with your media, helping you get representation with your media, or small businesses that just want to use different avenues for advertisement, maybe through online things, versus just trying to get radio ads, this is the organization to call. So Joy Media Group is someone you would want to talk to about getting your small business recognized more through internet options and social media, probably. And the next one is Nick Venti Design. It's a one-stop shop for everything digital. Nick is great at all the things as far as websites, apps, animation. He is the one-stop for all of those things. His number is 662-902-9737, and you can reach him at nickventi.com. Okay, so on tonight, we're going to be talking about the moneyality relationships with the gift purchases, restaurant bills, and unexpected costs. I'm going to go over each of the five moneyality types so you're very familiar with them. And moneyality has five moneyality types. There is the splurger, which is the extreme circulator, the keeper, which is the serious saving circulator, the tracker is the planning circulator, the adventurer is the risky thrill seeking circulator, and the mingler is the carefree socializing circulator. And I use the word circulator because in moneyality, we do not spend money, we circulate it so that it is something that is used throughout our communities. And we're not just focused on spending it as if it never returns to us. And that is just such a harsh way to talk about we're spending it. Has such a negative connotation. So we always try to lighten it up to be more optimistic by saying that you're circulating your money, and you are circulating your money, whether you're buying at the corner grocery store, whether you're buying at Walmart, your money has been circulated throughout our communities. And we really would love for people to kind of look at it that way, because it in some ways it is being returned back to us. So that's the reason why all of them are circulators, and their circulation is just based on what is the extent that they are circulating their money. So that goes with that. And so the first one is the keeper, which is the serious saving circulator. And I've been doing this, and I call myself the Miss Moneyologist, and I am that because I really love understanding all five of them. But me personally, as Tanya Collins, I am the keeper, and that is my primary money personality. And as the keeper, we love to save our money. It gets we get these huge thrills of just having it and having access to it and just really kind of counting it. And I'm really doing this show because I wanted to focus on some things that happened over the week. So, as part of my keeper moneyality type, I'm going to go further into it. But the keeper has some really great qualities because they're very disciplined. They are definitely bargain hunters. They're always looking for ways to save money, and they are very good at trying to share knowledge with people. So keepers are good because they want to have more people to save money. They want to be able to see that we all can get a good understanding of that. So I really like a lot of things about being a keeper. The next one is the splurger, which is the extreme circulator. And the splurger gets a really bad rap sometimes because that's the one that is most often talked about when they say, oh, you're a splurger, meaning that you just go out and you just spend, spend, spend. But splurgers are extreme circulators, but why they do it is very important. They do it because they like having that instant gratification, and they also are really good at purchasing things not just for themselves, but they purchase things for other people as well. So it's not like they're just splurging, just really throwing money away, as people would say. They're really getting big thrills out of purchasing things, and they like to purchase nice things for people, and those are really great qualities that you have as a splurger. And so I like that splurgers are really good at keeping the economy going, and they just kind of have uh, their instincts are really great, and they just have to kind of be reeled in sometimes and put priorities on things. But the splurger really has a good heart, so I like the characteristics of the splurger. And the tracker is a security planning circulator. And trackers are really good at their future. They are the ones who do a lot of planning and looking ahead. They like to think about where they're going to be in the future. They are the ones that are, trying to do the best routes to make sure they have that security at the end. And I like that. No, who doesn't want to have security? So the tracker is going to want to make sure they have money saved or put away in an investment for their financial future, for their retirement. And they have a lot of positive characteristics that are needed. And so I really always like to say that we really need to be consumed of all five moneyality types. So the tracker definitely is known for their job security and, just kind of planning for how they're going to maintain in their future lives. And the adventurer is the risky, thrill-seeking circulator. The adventurer is my secondary, and there's so many attributes about the risk takers and understanding how they are moving. Like I always say, that we are visionaries, we are creative people, and we kind of like to go with the flow on some things. And I find it's somewhat difficult sometimes when I think about I am an adventurer and I am a risk taker, though. I do like to budget for me to go to casino, let's say, and then I know I have that certain amount of money put aside for that where it's not affecting any bills or anything. And when I come home, whether I have added to that income of the money that I took to the casino, or if I come home with no money, I feel no bad way about it because it is money that I'd already planned to use. So that risk taker, and they are, really good at the decision. They're either going to go big or go home. And being billionaires or being broke, they still don't give up. They're constantly thriving and trying to see how their reality is going to come into place. And so they're really that middle ground of the five moneyality types. And the next one is the mingler, which is the carefree socializing circulator. This is the most unusual moneyality type because they are known to be people that say, oh, they don't care about money, people rich and they should be giving their money away and things like that. And I'm not saying that those are not great choices, especially if you're doing it for tax reasons. So there is good things about a mingler having those suggestions, but a mingler also is really big about relationships. And so they are very good socializers. They like to be a part of groups and they like to share their experiences with people. They're not necessarily loners. So when you're dealing with a mingler, they are also known probably to be the most ones to be taken advantage of because they don't mind. I remember always saying that I had a friend who said if he had a dollar, you had a dollar. And I would be like, wow, that is great. That was never a mindset that I had taken on, but I understood it. And it's very comforting when he's your friend. If you need it, he got it, and whatever that amount is. So those are really great characteristics that we talk about with the five moneyality types. So I'm not going to be on long, but what steered this in me is that this past week has been my birthday week. I had a really great time on Thursday. I was 54 on 5-4, and that was pretty much the theme for me for my birthday and just for all the celebrations that's going to be going forward for this year because 54 is like 365 days of my life that I love to celebrate. But there were so many things that happened that caused me to have these emotional I don't say breakdowns to some points. And so one of the questions that I'm posing tonight is what would who would purchase the best gifts for relationships? And when I say relationships, I mean it can be friendships, it can be family, it's just whatever relationship they're in. And out of the five moneyality types, I often say, wow, which one is going to be the one who purchased the best gifts for relationships? And as I just explained, all five moneyality types, if you listen to me, it would definitely be the splurger. The splurger would be the one that you would be like, yes, I know I'm getting something that I really like because there is no limit to them when they're purchasing something. They're not going in the store saying, oh, I have a budget and the gift is only going to be that. And so I love that about them. And that's something that I'm trying to take on as part of my personality because for me, I'm gonna kind of it's not an order, so I'm just gonna go to the keeper because that is the one that I feel the most about as myself. So as a keeper, purchasing gifts and how do I do it and why do I do it? For years, I have always been very um curious on purchasing things because keepers are not wasteful of their money. And so for them, anything that they purchase, they want it to be meaningful. And so if it's meaningful to them, they also want to have meaningful gifts for the people that they're buying gifts for. And so for years, I think I've talked about this on several episodes that I was purchasing gifts for my nieces and nephews, and I was always getting them educational toys. And I was like, because that's what they need. And so I would get it. And I was always laughing because you always think, does a child look and be like, oh, here's Auntie gift. And they kind of know that it's a book, maybe based on the shape or whatever. And then I would always be thinking, wow, why are they not more excited about this? Well, now, over the years, I started understanding that I've had conversations where it has been very difficult because of these conversations I have with people about how they feel about the presents they get from people. And so from again, like I said, the splurger, you just don't even know what you get. You could get some elaborate gift that you would be like unbelievable that you would even get that. And so I love that. And so I'm going to even break it down further is as gifts that I received this year, uh, one of the gifts that I received, I just could not believe it. Like I had this sisterhood who threw a birthday gathering for me, and all the things that were there, the decorations, the food, and just the whole atmosphere, I knew had taken not only just time, but it had been an expense for someone or the whole group. And I was thinking, wow, I am so honored that somebody is willing to invest that kind of money into having a, a really great party for me. And I was like, wow, I really love that because normally I have been the one who purchased my party things for the most part, but also it's a different thing. So I was thinking, wow, are there people that are doing this? Are they splurgers? And so I think when I think about one of the ladies in the group who was really heading the decorations and making sure things were good, I would say, yes, she's a splurger. I've talked to her, and based on just our conversations, she is a splurger. It's no limit to whatever you want. She will get it for you, whatever the theme. And she even said it. And I was like, wow, that is an amazing, beautiful spirit to have. Where for me, I would love to be able to do those things, but I really am that keeper and tracker in that because I need to kind of plan it out in advance and use those tracker skills to plan it and try to find things that are on sale before I come and try to always get the best price for something. And it has been really difficult for me to use even the adventure part of it to say, oh, you know what, just go with the flow and just participate, just go for it. And so over the years, yes, I have had to really horn in on that, and it has caused friction between relationships with that I've had with family and friends. It's a lot. And so with Moneyality, what I love about it is that you're learning how to adapt to the different Moneyality types. So as a keeper, who would purchase the best gift? With a keeper is going to have the option to give you the best gift if they found it on sale, for sure. And that is pretty much a real strong hold on them, is that they're going to look for something that you need and something that they can find at a really quality price. And that is a good idea to have, unless you're dealing with somebody who does not need what you want to give them, right? Or they don't want that to be their gift. And then, as I was talking about the tracker could possibly give you a really good gift. And I was talking to my tracker friend today, and she was like, oh, I was thinking, what could I give you that would be a really good gift for you? Because she was kind of thinking it out, trying to plan it. And I was thinking, you know what? I've given you a list. I said, just check it out, because I wanted to make it easy for people. Because also, as a keeper, I don't think most keepers, we don't want things that are unnecessary in our lives, because we're already hoarding money and also as a keeper, we're always purchasing these things that we think are a good buy. So you actually could become a really strong hoarder and have just many things that you're thinking, one day I'm going to use it and one day I'm going to need that. And that's not always so. So I've had to learn to leave things in the store unless you know you need it right now, to just leave it, because you're just hoarding these things. So I know for her, she needs direction. And as a tracker, it's easier for them if you give them a list. They're going to do so much better and they can plan for it if you give them a list. So, well, the next one would be the adventurer, which I tell you, always go with the flow. If the adventurer has the cash and they know that, wow, they may just take you on a trip, because for them, they're very similar to the splurger in some aspects. If they are just go for it. And for me to even be an adventurer, sometimes I can do it, but a lot of times it takes a lot, because I'm a very strong keeper. And that part of me that's the adventurer is not pretty much it's a smaller number and it's not as strong. It takes a lot for me to just say, oh, don't worry about it, we're just gonna go for it. But I'm doing better with that. And then the mingler again is also very similar. If they have the cash, it's no expense that's really gonna be a big deal, especially if it's somebody that's close to them and they really like, and it's a friend. They're going to definitely do their best to get them something. So when I thought about who would purchase the best gifts for relationships, I'm gonna just put them in order. This is not a certainty that this is exactly how it is, but these are just the highlights of how this would go if I'm ranking them from top to bottom. Top being the best at number 5, who would be the best person, would be the splurger. And the second one, if we're ranking them, if we're like coming down number 5, let's start over. The best person would be number 1. To get you the best present would be the splurger. Number 2 would be the mingler, because they are kind of they don't really have if they got it, they got it, you got it, remember? And so the next one would be the adventurer, because they are kind of in the middle and they are going to go broke or become billionaires. So they're going to do it in that middle range, and they're going to really try to kind of be able to get you something, but it's really always going to be something, again, that's probably pretty adventurous, and not everybody is adventurous. So the adventurous person normally gives gifts that they feel are fun, that you need to do, and you should try these things because that's their personality. So they're going to rank in at number 3, because they can go either way. And then the next one would be the tracker. And the tracker, as I mentioned, they're going to be pretty flexible if you have given them options in advance. If you have given them ideas, or if they've heard you say something, they're going to kind of plan to get you that's going to be their go-to. And the keeper would be last, because for the keeper, I just told you, they are very strategic in making sure that they are not wasteful in their purchasing, right? So they're going to just give you things that they think you need, or things that are at a cost that they can afford to say, hey, this is a good bargain for this, and they're going to give that. So those are the rankings of that. And I do want to have like a more deep dive into each one of those moneyality types about that, but I'm just giving you the highlights, something to start thinking about for yourself. How do you purchase gifts for people that you know in your relationships? How are you purchasing the gifts? Do you even ask them, or do you just assume they may need this, or do you just say, hey, I'm just going to give a gift card? Just start thinking about that. And how does it affect you when you're giving it? And how does it affect you when you're receiving gifts? So that's what we're going to talk about with that. And the next one is, who is likely to pick up the tab at a restaurant for the table? And I laugh at that. I had a discussion about that this week, where for women, we will be out and we are going to be sitting there. And I know I'm one of them. I remember when I lived in Angola, we used to go out in groups with our different friends, and everybody worked at different places. Some people were there for shell companies, some people worked for the diamond company. So they had different incomes. And I was there as instructor, but my compensation was not near some of theirs. And I would be like, wow, because everywhere we went, they would say, we're just going to split the ticket. And I'd be like, what? We're going to split a ticket, and my cost wasn't that much. And I finally just had to say, no, I can't do that, because I remember one of our friends, he said he would order this really nice fish, and it was pricey. And he said he would always order it because he knew if he was splitting the tab, he would not be paying the same amount if he paid it by himself. And I always thought, wow, he had a motive. He had a way of thinking about that from his perspective. So that made him kind of be somewhat of a keeper, because he was willing to save his money and not spend it, because he wanted to put that expense on the group, not just him by himself. So I have struggled with that too, especially in groups of 5 and 10, and they say you gotta pay these tickets. Women, we not to just the dog, just go off on women, but yeah, we as women, we'll be doing the nickel and dime. We're trying to count. We got calculators out. And I was talking to a man, and he was like, "Oh no, that's not how we do it. Sometimes we'll just be like, hey, I got it, he got it." And so I was thinking, what moneyality types do men? Do men have these different moneyality types, and they just don't show it because they're with their boys and they don't want to seem like, oh man, I don't have it. And I haven't had a lot enough conversation with men to kind of figure out how does that work for them. But just as a woman, I know that I have gone out, and sometimes when I was in different situations, when I was doing my entrepreneur things, I would pick up the whole tab because it was easy for a tax write-off. So people have different motives for things. But I will say, you know what? The best thing about it is always conversations. We really need to start communicating and recognizing that people have different moneyality types and not making suggestions that are just based on what your moneyality type are, especially if you're saying like, oh, we're going to split the whole tab, and you got somebody over there like me, or you got somebody over there like a tracker who already planned that they're only going to spend $20. They're only going to circulate this 120. They already looked at the menu prior to getting there. They already know they wanted that salad that cost $18, and now they have the tax and everything is going to be 20, 22 if they're tipping. They are not really interested. And sometimes we really just got to have conversations as friends. And I think that would save a lot of friendships because personally, myself, I know I have dealt with a lot of misunderstandings with relationships because of not knowing how they felt about gifts or how they wanted to split tabs and things like that. So it's really important to have those conversations. And sometimes I think we have been with our friends long enough, we may already know. And I don't think it's always a cool thing to try to say, oh, well, we know Susan's going to come and she's not going to have any money. Well, if Susan is that way, and maybe that way normally could possibly be the adventurer because they are not the best at managing. So when they got it, you got it. But when they don't, they don't. And so you have to kind of start playing on that and making sure you have definitely the conversations with these people because times are sometimes we're on these moves where that day you just don't want to do it. And so you come off and you're snapping off on someone when it's been pent up inside of you for a long time and you just never said anything and now you just have a big explosion. We don't need to do that. We need to definitely always recognize that there are different moneyality types and that we are dealing with ours. And if you're not recognizing what your friend's type is, well, of course, you need to take the moneyality test. You need to take the moneyality assessment. And you need to be able to be understanding and be able to have good conversations about these things because it's very important. And I see that it can have negative impacts on friendships, family, things, so many things. And I am a living witness of that. So that is that question. I'm not really sure. Okay, so let me just give the lineup of who would pick up the tabs. Number one probably would again be the splurger. The splurger is almost gonna have no problems picking it up. That they are rather just pick it up and not even worry about it. Number two, if they have it, it's going to be the mingler again, because the mingler is known to be taken advantage of. And so when they have a lot of cash, people will be just naturally assuming, oh, the mingler is going to get fed because we're friends or whatever. And they will, and it won't even be a problem to them. And that's where the misuse come into play. You have to be careful on if you're misusing people because they're love or their experience with money is different than yours. It's not a free reign where, oh, I'm just going to dump all my meals on them, they got it. I mean, I think we do need to be a little more responsible when it comes to those type of things. So they would be number two. If the adventurer and the tracker probably would be kind of in a balance with that, because if the adventurer got it, it's definitely done. And then if the tracker has planned for it, so if they know that they're going and it's going to be an event for their family, they're going to pick up the tab because they've already made preparations for it. So they will surprise you and say, hey, I got this tab. And they do little things like that. That is a part of their strategy to be generous and to not just be considered as somebody that has no flexibility, right? So sometimes they'll do that. So, and the keeper would be last. The keeper just naturally will sit back and not pick up a tab and just kind of wait to see what the table is going to say. They know they got enough money for themselves. For sure. They're going to have the money to cover themselves. If somebody else is saying they're going to pick it up, they may just sit back and say, okay. And I know a lot of times I know for sure, because I am a keeper, that people say, oh, you're just trying to take advantage. You know what? I used to think, oh my gosh, am I doing that? But I've also realized through my exposure in other countries and other places that sometimes it can be very offensive when somebody says, oh, no, 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 I got this. And somebody says, no, I want to do it. Especially if it's a tracker, if a tracker says, oh, I'm covering this tab, then sometimes if you know these things, you got to have moneyality in your life, then let them have it, because it will become offensive to them because they've already planned for this, and they'll probably say, oh, I've already planned to pay for this. So let them. And I will say that with a splurger is really generous. So they'll be like, oh, hey, I'm just going to give you some money on it. But sometimes we need to pull back. And sometimes if a splurger or a mingler is doing it and they're your friends, you might need to say, hey, I got this time, or hey, we're each paying for our own. So those are a lot of different ways we can talk about it, but I definitely will deep dive into them more individually at another time. And the next question, we're going to kind of wrap it up, is whose reaction to unexpected bills may cause the most stress? And I'm not going to go into very much detail about that, but I will say that anytime you are approaching something and it deals with finances, it really can change the dynamics of how people day go or how their emotions are. It can just really take somebody from a, oh, happy day, and bring them down. And that is the reality of how much we put stress on financial finances, period. And so with that being said, whose reaction to unexpected bills cause the most stress? It would be the tracker. Trackers already be planning their expenses. They already know what they're expecting in their monthly bills, or even if they're going to get their car repaired, they've called, they've asked and said, no, how much is this? And so if you give them a round figure, they're kind of looking at that to be their cost. Anytime that is off, anytime there is a wrinkle in that, it throws them off, and it allows them to have this an abundance of stress that comes over them. And they have to be very mindful of that. They need to learn to take it and also know that there's always hiccups sometimes. So you have to put a cushion in for those unexpected costs. But because they are very much planners, they really are rigid in how they handle their expenses. So they would have the most stress. The keeper would be next, and that is me. As I always say, I'm a strong keeper, and for me, that is true. I like to know the cost of things. I'm not always the best planner because I know I have the money most of the time. And when I feel like I have the money, I go with, oh, what is the value of this sometimes? And if someone comes at me with some outlandish price, oh, it can just put me in a tailspin because I'm like, oh my gosh, how did you get there? And I have to really calm down. And so I really wanted this topic to be talked about tonight because over the last week, I've really had to practice and put into motion my thoughts of this money comes. You don't need to stress about it. You can always make more money. And I have to start talking to myself like that, because if I get too bogged down into the idea that, oh, this is all I got or whatever, or somebody's trying to take advantage of me, I I just can just be mad, like blow up, and that's not the life I want to live anymore. So I will say that we are number two. We do not always handle stress well. The third one would be the adventurer. The adventurer is going to definitely be a little stressed because they are not great at budgeting. They kind of live off the cuff if they got it, and they are going to be a little stressful if it's time for rent. And they blew it on. They thought they had this great idea where they was going to start a lawn business. It needed $500, so they gave the 500, hoping that they were going to have enough lawns mowed to cover it by the first of the month. So that puts them in stressful situations because they're taking chances on things without making sure they have their basics covered. And that causes more stress on them. So they would be number three. And then number four and five pretty much rest in the same place with the mingler and the splurger. Their stress levels are not that high when it comes to unexpected bills. If they have it, they have it. And normally they're just going to go with it. If they don't have it, they're not really stressed. They'll just say something like, oh, it don't matter about my credit score, because they're not, their love is not of money. And I will say that it causes less stress, but it also causes them to have buyer's remorse on some things as well. So that's kind of just wrapping it up. I wanted to have those questions because I wanted people to start thinking about, what are your relationships? What are you feeling when it comes to your purchases for gifts for people? Are you expecting people to do the same things you do? If so, how so? Do you know they're going to do it because of you having the same moneyality types, or have you expressed it? And even just so many things about communicating is important, and I will not ever back down that conversations about how you feel about your purchases, how you feel and how you think about money, is what moneyality is. Moneyality is that combination of knowing your money personality. How does it resonate with you moving forward, even in small purchases or large restaurants or gifts or unexpected bills or just any of those things that happen on a daily. You have to prepare yourself, and you have to find strategies by listening to the moneyologists about how to handle some of these things. And that is my spiel for today. I am Tanya Collins. I am the Miss Moneyologist. I absolutely love Moneyality. I am always open to have you to email me. That's at the ticker at the bottom. Reach out to me. The cell phone number shows up, and that is 724-242-7458 if you just want the questions, or the email is moneyalitycourse@gmail.com. That's one of the emails if you just have questions for me. If you are looking for somebody to do speaking engagements that want to have a fresh idea about money, then reach out to me. I am not big about the financial literacy. I deal more with the personal finance, which falls under the heading of financial literacy. But I really deep dive into the psychology and the understanding of how money makes us feel and think. So with that being said, y'all have an amazing Monday. Take care and have a great, great week. Peace. I'm out. Moneyality. Money.